All right, so we're not live, but we're the next best thing. So I'd just like to get out of the way first, right off the bat, from early results. What the hell, America? Um,
Yeah, I know. I don't know what's going on. I'm quite confused.
but welcome to Jamal and Joe Show, a special election night
Election
edition
night.
that
Yeah.
is not going to be live, but it will be only slightly tape delayed, and then you'll see what we think of what's going on so far. And I really think this is going to be something that's going to be a continuing thing for at least the next few days, if not the next few weeks. So
Which
strap
is
in.
really interesting because as technology evolves, you would think that election results would be faster and not slower. I mean, think about the days before the internet and everything. I'm trying to remember 10 years ago, did it take 2 or 3 days for an election to be decided? It seemed like it was done that night, right?
Well, I mean, what in 2000 with Gore, that was the one that was super contested, and then
Right.
there was the suspicion with Diebold machines because that dude seemed like a scumbag. And
With the hanging chads and all that. But,
yeah,
you
and
know,
I'm not well versed enough to know a lot. I would let you guide me on all that and guide the rest of us on that bit of history. But all the rest of the elections, I mean, what Gore folded, right?
right.
He
Yeah.
conceded like crazy early, and that's the thing is that I mean, even if it was like a massive Biden blowout tonight,
Hmm.
which it doesn't appear to be yet, um, it would still be contested completely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, I mean, the polls are closed in your state now, so the West Coast is closed. So all the votes are currently being counted, and we know Oregon, California, and Washington are going to go for Biden. But it's going to be my state where I am in North Carolina. It's going to be Ohio, Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania, Florida,
Florida. You know,
Texas, maybe.
the fact that Texas is even close is amazing because Texas has been like deep red for 50, 60 years.
For sure. So that it's even an option right now is kind of wild. And I don't know if we mentioned Ohio.
Yeah.
Um, I know I read earlier today about like 300,000 votes in Pennsylvania were going to get tossed because the surprise, the Postal Service just didn't get around to quite sorting them yet. I couldn't imagine why that happened. If only they had like a machine that sorted mail
Yeah, I
quicker
know.
than humans can.
I mean,
Um,
that's what I'm saying. In 2020, like I don't understand why the voting system is not up to. Oh boy, what's this? Hold on.
is that something important?
Uh,
It sounded important.
no, it was the Democrat in Alabama lost to the Republican. Like, shocker. Like,
Okay. See, and I just wanted to get out of the way quick. You're my guiding light in a lot of this. Like as much as I wanted to go on early and like just solo, I was hoping to do like the live thing and just be like solo, just I don't know, talking at the blank void of the world and seeing what came back. But I mean, the structure that I think you can provide for a lot of this is going to be helpful as we I mean, honestly, to me, I think we're just getting started in all this. I mean, I've been
I
following it all day.
I agree. I mean, we're literally 3 hours in. So polls closed in North Carolina at 8 o'clock. And I think the earliest polls closed at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So it's 11:15 Eastern time right now. So 8:15 your time. And I think we're in for a long, long night. Maybe a couple of nights. Maybe, like you said, even a week. But that just blows me away. Think about everything in the world and how it's gotten better and faster and more efficient. And I just don't understand why the U.S. voting system is not. I don't understand why they can't count the votes and it be done in 30 minutes,
For
right?
I would say for the same reason that we still use an electoral college system.
Fair.
No good reason at all. I mean, there's no good reason for any of this silly shit. It's only it to me. Granted, I'm a bit of a skeptic, but I mean, the only reason you would hang on to some weird, stupid, broken, archaic system is if it like somehow benefited those who are making the rules, or I don't know. I don't. I hate the electoral college, and I just hate the general principle that not everybody's vote counts as a vote, because that to me is what it means. And I was hoping that you could just take a moment and break down for myself and other folks that might be kind of ignorant of what the electoral college is. Again, all I know is just that not everybody's vote really means it's their own.
All right. So here's how the electoral college breaks down. Each state is allotted a number of electors, and it is based on the number of representatives in the House of Representatives. So there's 535 members, 435 members of the House of Representatives. So like in Oregon, I believe you guys have 8 congressional districts. Each one of those congressional districts is allotted one electoral vote. In my state, I believe we have 20. In California, it's like 54. So the winner of the popular vote in each state is given all of those votes. So if you win Oregon, you get all 8 votes. And it takes 270 votes to be elected president. So if you win California, you get a crap ton of electoral votes. So the map is basically broken down by safe states, right? So each has safe states: New York, California, Oregon, Washington, the whole Massachusetts. Those are all safe states for the Democrats. The Republican safe states are kind of the middle part, that flyover part of the country: Oklahoma, Alabama, Kansas, Missouri, all of those Midwestern states. Now, those Midwestern states have smaller populations, so they don't have as many electoral votes. So you might need 6 or 7 of those Midwestern states to equal a California. So the goal is obviously to rack up the most electoral votes, but with the candidates, if you notice, the states they go to are the states with the bigger populations. That's why Biden and Trump spent so much time in Florida, because Florida's got 34 electoral votes. If you can win Florida and Pennsylvania and Ohio, you're looking at close to 90 electoral votes right there. And when you only need 270, there's not a whole lot of other things to make up. The Electoral College was put into place, God, I just looked at this 100 years ago. I don't exactly remember, but it was put into place because the population of the country was so spread out, and they were trying to get a representative nature of who should be elected president based on population and not just number of states. So it's not like you win, 26 out of 50 and you win, or you win the popular vote, because the popular vote was so heavily focused on the coast and not in the middle. It was put in place as a way to kind of even things out or go on a curve. So it really brings into play the state by state strategy of each candidate in order to get to 270. So that's kind of a layman's breakdown of the Electoral College.
An even further layman's breakdown might be, and correct me if I'm wrong, like it just seems like people in, say, South Dakota, like their vote seems to mean more than like all of anybody in California. I mean, just by that's not the right way of putting it, but I mean, it doesn't seem representative of population, even though it is supposed to be. But the popular vote is not represented in that system.
No. So when the founding fathers put this in, they were afraid of the popular vote. For whatever reason it was back then, it's probably not the reason why it's still in play now.
How could that ever? I'm sorry, but I mean, how? Why would that ever be a bad idea? And we literally use the popular vote like in everything else that we do, even in our own federal system. We use the popular vote like in almost everything else that we do.
Right. So when you're electing your congressman or you're electing your senator or your mayor or your governor, it's the popular vote. Um, and at the time that the electoral college system went in, the population centers of the country were varied. And it was a way to keep the bigger states from over influencing who was going to win, if that makes sense.
I get the idea, but it's just, I mean, I guess I'm just a super big fan of one person, one vote, the end, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I can't help it if, you feel like your needs aren't represented when you're in the middle of freaking nowhere, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Your vote is as strong as anybody else's vote
And
because
up until
you
the
get one.
last and up until the last couple of elections, the popular vote has coincided with the winner of the electoral college. So
But
Hillary,
hasn't, I thought it's been like, isn't there like three of them lately? Like,
well, so Obama won the popular vote both times, and he won the electoral college. Um, Hillary won the popular vote and lost the electoral college. Al Gore won the popular vote and lost the electoral college. And I don't remember, I know Reagan won both, and I know Bush won both. So it had to have been Nixon or before.
I was basically thinking like Reagan forward.
Yeah, Reagan won electoral college. Well, remember Reagan's first election, he won like 47 states or 48 states.
Wow.
Reagan won every state but Minnesota and Oregon. Those are the only two states Reagan didn't win his first time.
Wow.
It was a landslide.
Wow.
Reagan's second election was not a landslide, but he still won by a considerable margin, both the popular vote and the electoral college. So if we go Reagan,
Right.
then we Bush, and Bush won the popular vote, and he also won the electoral college. And Bush was a one-term president, and then Clinton,
senior, right? Yeah.
senior. And then Clinton won both elections. And then after Clinton was GW, and GW won both. So yeah, I think it was just
because GW ran against Gore, so that was GW lost the popular and won the electoral.
GW lost the popular vote and won the electoral college, mainly because of Florida. And then Hillary Clinton won the popular vote and lost the electoral college.
But like GW's second term, what happened there?
GW's second term, I want to say it went the way it was prescribed, because if it didn't, that would stick out in my memory.
Okay. Anyway, I hate the electoral college. I just hate it. It's just stupid. I mean, the idea that like nothing can be touched of these holy ideas of, the founding fathers, whatever. I mean,
right.
That's just dumb. I mean, and the Constitution's been amended more than a few times. So
27 amendments to that.
Go ahead and amend it again. I just just at its core, that idea of, one vote, the end. That's my personal view. I'll move on. Any new updates from all of your? I assume you have many screens. Do you have many screens around you?
I
fetch my water,
and I haven't looked at it in the last hour, half an hour, just because I've been waiting for the West Coast numbers to come in, because I mean nothing really starts until all the votes are counted. I mean, when you're like
The West
68,
Coast numbers, I mean, everybody kind of, I mean, they're kind of a given anyway, right?
true. But by the time the West Coast numbers come in, you've got states on the East Coast that are getting close to 70, 80% of the votes counted. I mean, like right when everything comes in, I mean, there's nothing you can really count on so early because, you know,
It's like 2% reporting. You know,
yeah.
okay, cool.
I mean, and then what's going to happen around midnight is somebody's going to find a box of votes in a trunk somewhere, and oh, we got to go get them counted, and you know.
Well, there's something where like a pipeline broke. I think it was in North Carolina. A pipeline broke in a voting precinct counting station
Yes.
and flooding. Okay, sure. I mean,
So let me see. Let me see if I got an update here.
yeah. My update is I got one more round worth in my bottle, which is just not planning ahead.
So as of right now, Biden has 218 electoral votes and Trump has 148. But there's so many battleground states that are not counted yet.
Yep.
That, you know, I mean, it's going to come right down to it.
And then it'll get appealed immediately to the Supreme Court, and then
yeah. So Biden is forecasted to have won Arizona.
Wow.
Which is a little bit of a surprise.
That's a little bit of a surprise, I'm going to go ahead and say.
Trump is forecasted to have won Florida, which he won last time. Let me see.
And I heard that people were, again, so many things I've heard. They were blaming a lot of that on the Cuban contingent of Florida.
So, dude, let me talk about that for a second.
Because I mean, when I heard that any Latino person or brown person at all could be a Trump supporter, I mean, I'm like, surely you jest.
Cubans are notoriously right-wing Republicans, like
very conservative,
absolutely
super religious,
and it goes to the anti-Castro faction. So they are so afraid of socialism because of what Castro did, you know, in the 60s and 70s, that when they came to the United States, they jumped on behind the Republican Party. And if you meet a Cuban, they are most likely a Republican. And I've got a really good friend who is a Cuban and who is not a Republican.
Okay.
Who actually ran for office in Charlotte as a Democrat. And yeah, Cubans are, you know, so one of my other Cuban friends that work with me put a post on Facebook and said, to all my Cuban friends outside of Florida, everyone thinks you're an immigrant. And that was like powerful because in Florida, the Cubans are like, hey, you know, we're like we're the people. But if you go one state over, they're going to call you a Mexican.
Go just a bit north.
Yeah, I mean, you get out of Miami, and you know they think anybody who speaks Spanish and is brown is a Mexican.
That's all just Mexican. I mean,
you know, so
I hate to break it to those folks, but
yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, the Cubans go hard for the Republicans, and they always have, and it's because it's the anti-Castro backlash. You know, they're so afraid of that is not anti-socialism that they'll vote for it, which is hugely surprising because
I mean, I understand, you know, they had a bad run with that Castro fellow. But dang. I mean okay, so moving on from Florida then.
Yes. So let me get you a live update, and I don't know how well this is going to age by the time people see this in a day or two.
Are you making a prediction?
Like, don't you guys know what already happened?
Nah, dude. I think we're gonna.
So here we go.
Here's out quick. So
here's a surprise of the night. You ready?
Yep.
Trump is going to win Mississippi.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah, for sure.
Shocker.
I guess that, you know, the biggest thing is the disappointment that it's not a blowout, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
that's really what is kind of hitting, at least personally, that everybody kept talking like his base of 30% of the population.
Right.
That was like the number where people, no matter what, and you're like, okay, this does not seem to reflect that.
Not at all. And Biden and Trump has just pulled ahead in North Carolina, which is a little bit disappointing. It's not surprising, but he's ahead.
What percentage is that of everybody counted?
It's 50.1 to 48.6, and it's 95% of the votes counted. Yeah. And then if we look at Ohio, Trump is up 53-45 with 87% of the votes counted in Ohio. And then in Pennsylvania, Trump is up 56-42 with 48% of the votes counted. So it's not trending in a good direction.
That's yeah. So that is it better that it's like, one of those things like you just realize, this many of our countrymen are just there. You go. And like maybe more to your point before of at least now we know,
right?
Versus there being any suspicion of it. And so
Biden just won New Mexico.
Okay. Sweet.
So, but see, here's the thing: like New Mexico and Arizona don't have a whole lot of electoral votes.
I was gonna say, I mean, neat, yeah. But
so it's let's see here. As I look at the map, let's see here, and let's see, they're counting Nevada. So the Democrats are projected to win the House of Representatives.
I saw McConnell won his seat back.
I mean, McConnell's got all the money in the world. There was no way he was going to leave. In Kentucky, do you know the last time Kentucky elected a Democrat? It
for sure. I mean, again, people had some high hopes, I guess, riding into this of, the amount of turnout was going to heavily favor.
Well, turnout was up. I mean, turnout is up. I mean, if you look at the states from now and then from 2016 and even 2008 when Obama turned a bunch of people out, the thing is turnout is up on both sides. So, people all around the country were galvanized to get out and vote, which is a great thing. I think everybody should vote every election. I honestly thought, well, no, I didn't. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say I thought it was going to be that people would come to their sense. I didn't. I hoped.
I didn't think that it would be. I thought it would be. I wouldn't go so far as to think that it was going to be some big landslide for Biden, but I thought it would be pretty clear. I thought it would be pretty obvious. It'd be with the amount of turnout that they were talking about, and I get that both sides were very energized to go vote, but I mean with the amount of turnout they were talking about, I mean it was ridiculous. Like already at 100% of voting turnout from 2016, and this was however many days ago or whatever. And stories like that, I mean, were definitely, in my mind, an indicator of like, okay, people were coming out in droves and going, no, we're really fed up. I don't know.
There's a lot of people that are scared that their way of life is going to be equalized.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of what the people that I've talked to who are Trump voters are, like I've been telling you before. My granddaddy had this, my daddy had this, and I might be the first generation that
I
has
didn't
to.
realize there was that many of them.
Yes, yes. You got to think 200-300 years of things being a certain way, and then all of a sudden there's a possibility that it's not. That's pretty strong.
For sure. I always just, I mean, you look at the population centers. I mean, but those places like Pennsylvania and Ohio, where it's like, it's just enough city folks, but just enough not city folks, and there's a lot of
Right.
population of both.
So, and what a lot of the Trump people that I know, that I talk to, 8 years of Obama scared the pants off of them because they saw a lot of people that look like me get put in positions of power, not just Obama, but judges and lawyers and before the federal government looked a lot like you, right?
Sure.
Clinton put a lot of people of color and a lot of women in high places, but not a whole lot. And Obama put a lot of people of color in a lot of high places. And I think that scared the pants off a lot of rural America. Like, oh my goodness, we cannot let this happen again. And I think they see Biden as someone who would also put a lot of women and a lot of people of color in high places. And if what we've seen from the last 4 years, Trump does not do that. The number of women and the number of people of color has gone down significantly across the board in the federal government since Trump has been in. And a lot of people in rural America are okay with that. I don't understand how women are okay with that, being marginalized. I can understand the white male, I get that, but the women, I don't understand how they don't want to see their daughters being able to rise to be in positions of power or have influence. That's the thing that has always bewildered me, is that quote unquote soccer mom. Because I don't think every soccer mom in America is subservient to her husband and does exactly what she is told to do. I have a hard time believing that.
Turns out maybe they do. I mean, look at this voting. I mean, honestly, how on earth a woman could go, that's my guy, after any of this? I mean, but again, it blows my mind that any person of color could be a big fan. I don't understand that. I mean, how I've seen black Trump supporters. Apparently there's a lot of Latino, and by that, or Latinx. I think that, by the way, is that a proper term? Latinx? I know that's supposed to encompass all of Latin America, both man and woman, instead of specifying Latino or Latina.
Right. Yeah.
But isn't that almost just kind of fucking lazy? I mean, I don't know. We don't have a person of Latin descent here to ask.
Right.
This is why we need to have the live show. Because then a Latin person could say, "No, asshole, say this."
Right.
But anyway, I get why folks that look like me, especially that make more money than I do, are fans of that guy. Our apparently dear glorious leader, because like I said, I mean, they keep the train. He keeps their train running, and they're willing to overlook or be willfully ignorant of all the nasty little things, to keep their station.
It's turn your head and cough.
Dude. I mean, it's honestly, explain to me how it's any different than when they talk about when the GIs liberated concentration camps and then went to the town next door and talked to the people there who claimed ignorance of what was going on, that they had no idea what all those smokestacks were about. And they said, okay. And they marched those fucking people over, and they marched the whole town through the concentration camp. I just don't see how I get it where you've got all the benefit of what's going on. Like I said, like I see how folks that are, you know, as well off as me or more so, that look like me, uh, and that prefer women and instead of men, they've got it made. I understand why they vote for this. I think it's wrong, and I think it's fucked up that they would still support this guy. But I kind of get it.
Mhm.
Similar to how, like, all the rappers of late that have been in the news of supporting Trump, and you know, like I've been saying all along, if you come right out and you go, hey, he's my guy because I don't like to pay more taxes. Straightforward enough for me.
Mhm.
That's honest.
Right.
I think you're a jerk, but
Right.
you're honest, and I respect that. Okay, fine. Um, but how people that aren't claiming a tax benefit from this, what are you latching onto?
That's what I don't see it. I mean, and maybe I am so far on the other camp. I don't see too many redeeming qualities. I mean,
Just zero at all. What are you talking about? Redeeming
nobody
qualities.
likes to
Well,
pay taxes. I get that. But like I've said before, if you want to live in a civilized society, you have to pay for certain privileges like roads and schools and that takes money
yes.
and that takes taxes. We can argue all day about what the tax rate should be, and it should it be balanced or imbalanced or fair tax or regressive tax or all of that, but I don't think anybody smart, civilized, and understand how the world works thinks that you can't pay taxes. Like things just don't work. There's
Well,
no way
but I mean,
to
that's the
build a
thing is that guys like 50, they're like, oh, I'll happily pay taxes, you know, 2%, they'll happily pay that Donald Trump $750. I'll pay that for my tax as I make 400 million,
right,
or some crazy shit. Uh, but again, I'm all about, what's reasonable. That's what I was always brought up under,
hmm
what the reasonable person would do. And I mean, that's what our entire system of law is based around, what the reasonable person would do.
hmm
And a reasonable person would say, seems reasonable that everybody has to chip in so that we can all use things like roads and fire departments and armies and whatever.
right,
Fine, groovy. And it's equally reasonable to think that everybody would have a long list of grievances of things that they don't like their tax money to go for.
right.
That's
Yeah,
okay, fine, cool.
yeah,
But it just stuns me to no end that the folks making so much dough that have gotten some pretty amazing tax breaks of late, and some of those permanent tax breaks,
hmm
and all they do is just keep bitching. They just keep complaining about how tough they got it. And you're like, oh my God, you're literally complaining about how tough you got it being like the owner of a multi-million-dollar company, and you, I'm, I mean, I just like say, I mean, to me, it's a similar thing. Like folks that say, you know what, I don't have any kids. I don't want to pay my taxes
right.
for
Oh,
schools. And you're like,
they're projecting that Trump is going to win Ohio.
fucking A.
That could be it right there. I mean,
That
that
is,
could be that could
who?
be it.
Well, So like, I mean, they, but they can keep either one can like appeal and all this kind of stuff for what it's worth. Um, but it's not really over until somebody does like a conceding kind of a thing, right?
Well,
So
little known fact, you can concede and still win. Because if you concede, they don't stop counting the votes. When people
wow,
when people concede, that's yeah, you could come out and say, hey, he wins, and then they run the numbers and you win, you still win. A
no
concession,
kidding.
a concession is not a legal declaration. A concession is more of a I'm kind of waving the white flag. I'm what
Again,
I'm
it's part of that whole gentleman's agreement
saying.
our whole country seems to be founded on.
What a concession is that I have had my people crunch the numbers, and I know that from our projections, once the numbers are counted, I am not going to win this. They don't stop counting; they continue to count. They count all the votes. So when a politician concedes, that's them saying we've looked at the numbers and there's no path to victory.
So one thing I'm seeing is it says that apparently PA has over 2 million mail-in ballots yet to count.
Yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
so but you're saying that if Trump wins Ohio, is that it?
Ohio and Florida together is going to be a tough hill to climb
Got you, right?
because of the number of votes in those states. It's going to be a tough hill to
Right, right.
climb.
Are people going to make the argument that like Biden didn't campaign enough in Florida or Ohio, kind of a thing? Would that matter?
I mean, I fancy myself as a political scientist, but there are some people that will, we learned this in 2016. Some people that told the pollsters, I'm voting for Hillary, and they walked into the voting booth and voted for Trump,
Right, right.
right? So you can campaign to your blue in the face, but I think you said it best a month ago. At that point, there's no undecided voters. People know what they're going to do, whether or not they're going to be honest about it and tell you what they're going to do. You know, you could be in Ohio every day for 6 years, and there's some people that are just never going to vote for you.
Right.
So, because I mean, think about this. In on September 1st, what percentage of the population do you think really hadn't made up their mind?
Man, I don't understand how anybody could be undecided. Fuck. I mean, ever. I mean, honestly, I mean, how
Right.
could you ever be undecided? You're either a crazy Trump person, and I don't use that term lightly, um,
Or you're not.
or you ain't, or you're
Right.
just a normal person.
Right.
Um,
So
and
I don't know if I value, and this might be showing my ignorance. I don't know if I value the big political rallies other than it fires up your base. I think that's what it does. It fires up your base. It encourages the people who are already going to
which
vote for you to get out and vote. But I don't really, I've never been swung by a political rally, and I've been to a lot of political rallies.
well, I think you nailed it right there. Just that the whole reason that Trump does them, there's two reasons. One, strokes his ego like crazy, and then
Mm-hmm.
two, I mean, his base is all he has. But
Right,
as long as he has them, he's in the game.
right,
You
yeah,
know. Hey,
and
I'm sorry, but can we pause for just like 1 minute and 15 seconds?
yes,
Is that all? Is that okay?
that's
All right,
fine.
thank you. Check some new stats. I'm sure there's
All
shit
right.
rolling in. Sorry. Gotta be honest, I needed a snack.
I mean, as I look,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It's close. You know, Trump is up 50 to 48 in North Carolina, and we were every 100% bit of a swing state. And hold on a second. I was trying to look at something else. Oh wait, hold on. State by state results. And North Carolina. So North Carolina, we reelected our Democratic governor,
Okay.
Mr. Cooper, who I've met, who's actually a really good guy.
Nice.
And let's see what's going on in our senatorial race out here. I think this was like really close.
What about, wasn't Lindsey Graham up for?
Yeah, they took a run at him, but he won.
Damn.
Which didn't surprise me. I mean, so our senatorial race here in North Carolina is within 100,000 votes. It's close. The Republican is up, but Lindsey Graham won 56 to 42. So that's a pretty handsome victory there.
So is there any big changes in the Senate that make any kind of difference? I heard like Colorado
flipped. So Colorado flipped, Arizona flipped, and that's it so far. Georgia looks to be going the way they thought it was, with the two Republican incumbents winning. The Iowa incumbent is winning. Mitch McConnell won. Susan Collins is going to win Maine. She's a Republican, but
is she really?
Yeah, but she votes a lot with the Democrats, but she is a Republican. Trump is going to win Texas and get those 38 electoral votes.
Is that for sure?
Yeah, they just called it.
Oh,
it's shocking that it took this long to call it. And it looks like with 52% of the precincts in, the Democrat is leading in Montana, which would be a shocker, a complete shocker in Montana if that were to happen. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know.
So is there any ray of hope in any of this? Is it settled already? That, I mean, just like looking at what does it mean for the next 4 years? Are we already at that conversation?
I mean, like I said to open the show, I had a feeling it was going to go this way. I mean, I just think there was enough people that were scared about sharing the pie that they were looking out for themselves versus what potential damage has been done to the country and could be done to the country. And I don't say this just out of just spitballing it. I say it because I've talked to a lot of people who live in my state. And a lot of people who live in my state are like, Jamal, with all due respect, this is how I see the world. And, it's the same people that are, out there fighting for the Confederate flag. It's a way of life. It's a heritage thing. And Obama.
So what is it that they say exactly?
It's about the Confederate flag?
No, I mean, like when they say, Jamal, you're great. Thanks for talking to me about this, but this is why this is why this is my guy. Like I said, what is their reason? Because if it isn't taxes,
their reason is
they come right out and say, I love that he hates people like I do.
Not in so many words, but they go back to the slogan of he's going to make America great again.
And they never define that, of course, right?
Right. Because if you think about what he's saying when he says make America great again, it's let's go back 50 years when certain
nobody's
people
implying
had all the power.
Yeah.
You know, because for a lot of people, America wasn't great back then. You know, for a lot of people, America isn't great right now. But to make America great again, you know, goes back to a time where you had to be of a certain class. So yeah, they just called Ohio for Trump, where you had to be of a certain class in order to be in the club. You know,
I was just curious if they ever like come out and say that. You know,
but I mean, think about it: make America great again. And what he's talking about is 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. You know, and for a lot of people, and especially women, America wasn't that great.
Well, and again, you know, we talk about like how folks that seemingly have, you know, the least to gain with all of this, how they can support it at all. But,
you know, yeah,
apparently they sure do.
And I mean, I think if it comes out the way it's going and Trump wins, you know, you're going to have a lot of people saying, you know, Biden wasn't the strongest candidate, kind of the same thing they said about Hillary. You know, Biden's 78 years old. And if that's the best that the Democratic Party could bring up was a 78-year-old man out of 330 million people in the country.
He's running against a 76-year-old dude. I mean,
no, agreed. But I mean,
I know that's what they're going to say. I hear you.
When you look at Obama was in his late 50s. I think he might be in his 60s now. But he was a younger, more energetic candidate that appealed to a cross-section of America that was wider, right? So does Biden, let's just talk about Biden for a second, because we know who Trump appeals to. But does Biden appeal to the 18 to 25-year-old person? You know?
No, well, that's the whole argument, right? Is it, are you?
And I think that's why they brought, and I think that's why they brought Kamala Harris on, was that she was going to appeal to a younger audience and a younger demographic. You know, and then there's arguments of was there somebody in their what is this?
That was the whole criticism, though. Was just
right. But I mean, is there somebody that's kind of an Obama-like candidate, not necessarily an African American candidate, but someone who's younger and could appeal to more people? Because I mean, you got a 78-year-old running against a 74-year-old, you know, and at the end of the day, is that what
the whole strategy was? I'm not him,
right?
And well, okay, that is a strategy, and he was not my first choice. I mean, you know, but I would get called a socialist lunatic for the people that I wanted to be president. You know, I mean, that I wanted to be on the ticket.
Well, I mean, out where you are, was big Bernie country.
I wasn't a Bernie guy. I like Elizabeth Warren a lot.
Yeah.
I thought she was pretty great. Bernie, honestly, let me sit up straight for this take here real quick. If you can't go so far as to commit to the fucking party that you're running under, then you can just go ahead and fuck right off.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that's the kindest thing I have to say about that. I mean, you know, I've got less flattering opinions about that, because, I mean, if people want to throw around, you know, the idea of Putin puppets all over the place, like Jill Stein last election, you know, that she was a straight up, you know, a spoiler candidate, you know, there to do nothing only than steal votes and ruin shit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a fun picture of all these people sitting around at a banquet with ye old daddy Putin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like Mike Flynn, the convicted yet then pardoned
Mm-hmm.
Our version, this era's version of Ollie North.
Yes.
There is Jill Stein. There was, oh man, there's a few others there. I don't know. I just, it's a bummer when there's no good news, and it's, it'd be more fun to go, yay, it's all going to be better now. So it's not going to be, and I guess
It's gonna be worse.
no, yeah,
It's going to be worse. So I mean, if you are a fan of affirmative action and reproductive rights and human decency,
I
you're
don't
gonna
know
have a rough
the
4 years.
environment.
The environment, you're a rough 4 years.
Yeah.
Public schools. It's
Well,
going
the
to be
neat thing is what we're gonna have. What either Don Jr. or Ivanka as if coming up next in 4 years. I mean, it'll just be a handoff at that point because we don't need to mess with these ridiculous elections. We'll just go. We'll just go with a handoff. It seems the most reasonable thing to do.
right. So I mean, if you're a fan of democracy and the rule of law, which you've taken on here, with the various gentlemen's agreement that are no longer being honored or respected, and that might be for the best. That might be for the best that some of these agreements are being called out because there should have been something behind it the whole time instead of just a gentleman's agreement. Kind of like the money used to be the money used to be backed by gold, and then it wasn't. The democracy was based on a handshake, and now these handshakes are no longer being honored, and maybe that's the lesson we learned. I thought we learned it in the first 4 years, but maybe that's the lessons to be learned is like, do your paperwork, right? Make sure your paperwork is intact. And I don't know. I mean,
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it would go back to the candidate action again. I mean, having to hear people piss and moan about Hillary wasn't inspiring enough. God dang, man, that was like something that was like, I almost want to just, people need to get kicked in the crotch for saying shit like that. Right. I don't know. I'm just, that blew my mind then.
I don't think I don't think the country was ready for a woman president. And I think Donald Trump.
I think that's crazy, man. I mean, I was like, this seems like the natural next step. I mean, it seemed like a no-brainer. It seemed like just the most natural thing. Like, okay, sure,
but then again.
So I mean, so here's the thing: so many people sat out that election, and it led to this dumpster fire.
Right.
And now, so many people participated in this election to continue the dumpster fire.
Correct.
And I mean, and they're talking about like I think it was from North Carolina, a congresswoman who's like a big QAnon believer. Like, this is real now. I mean, we're just like we're a bad joke. That ain't funny. And you're just like, hey, clown, put the knife down. And I mean, God dang.
I'm just looking at these projections right now. I mean, I don't see this working out in I don't see this working out in the way that I had hoped it would work out. If I'm looking at the candidates that I voted for, a few of them are winning. We reelected our governor, and our governor got a whole lot of crap for keeping us locked down for as long as he did to try to keep the numbers down with COVID. And a lot of people said they were going to not vote for him, despite him being one of the best governors we've had in the state of North Carolina in a long time.
Where they're going to come,
great governor.
Were they
but
going to come
they
kidnap
wanted to
him?
go out and get their drink on. They wanted to open up strip clubs and bars, and they wanted to open up movie theaters, and they wanted to do this. And he is listening to the scientists that are telling him, don't do it. And he didn't do it. And there was a lot of people that said they were not going to vote for him strictly because of that. He's made North Carolina a much better and safer state. And he got real. So here's the thing that bewilders me. And I've lived in North Carolina for going on 15 years. Roy Cooper, who's our governor, who was reelected, and Donald Trump are nowhere near each other, right? So the fact that Donald Trump is leading North Carolina and Roy Cooper was elected means some people walked into the voting booth and voted for Trump and voted for Roy Cooper. And I think the only thing that they can agree on is that they both exist. I don't think that they agree on anything other than your name is Roy and your name is Donald. Other than that, they don't agree on anything. So when I saw that Roy Cooper was leading the polls, I said, that's a good sign that North Carolina would go for Biden. But that would be like someone voting for Kate Brown and voting for Donald Trump in Oregon. It's similar to that.
Do you presume tampering, fuckery, you know? Or is it just like there's so many people voting, there's so many people participating? It wasn't all just Biden supporters, it turns out. It was a bunch of assholes. And we've got just a bunch of a-holes living here.
I told you that was going to happen. I told you people were just running around free, spouting hate, spouting this and that. I told you. They were.
I assumed that it was just a loud, a loud few. A couple people can make a lot of noise.
Right.
And especially in this day and age where internet and everything else.
Remember what I told you.
A lot of noise.
Remember what I told you. We can go back and mark the tape, find the tape. There was a lot of people that were hiding in the shadows that were able to come out and fly the flag and fly the colors. And then Trump, say what you want about him, but he's a very charismatic person. And he appealed to those people. His message was, what you had, what your family had, what your great-grandpa had, I'm going to get back to you. These other people, right? He's very careful about his wording. But if you read through the lines, people that look like me and people that are women are coming to take your spot. This is rightfully yours. You've had this for 400 years. This has been yours. You've been able to rise to the level of.
But he doesn't follow through with any of that. He does nothing but fuck them over just day after day, and they still buy it. And you're like, oh, fuck it, hey.
You don't have to follow through with it. It's all about being charismatic and saying, I'm going to do this. And then if it doesn't happen, oh, well, the Democrats got in the way of it happening. I tried. Think about this.
Nah, for sure.
No. Think about this. Trump's first 2 years in office, Republican in the White House, Republicans in control of the Senate.
Oh, dude, could have gotten anything done. Got nothing done.
Nothing got done. And you know what? He blamed the Democrats.
Oh, and his followers lap it up, and
they believed it. But he had the votes to get rid of Obamacare. He had votes to get rid of affirmative action. He couldn't get it done. He had a veto-proof vote bank, and he couldn't get it done with his own people in there. And he blamed it on the Democrats, and the people who are lapdogs believed it. They believed it.
I the whole time. I think honestly, what it boils down to me is like I've just heard so much about his core is this 30%, whatever, this 29%, this 34%, whatever it was. And then no matter what, that's who, they're always going to vote his way no matter what. And it's just everybody else. You're like, okay, fine. But I mean, if these numbers are anywhere close to legitimate, I mean, it's way more than that 30% that are big fans. And I mean, that blows me away. Because you know what? At that point, it is more than just guys that look like me. It is. It ain't just there's more than just people who look like me that are on board his train right now,
Hmm.
and that fucking blows me away. I just don't understand it. How? I don't understand how any right thinking person that I can pass for would be on board with this. I mean, if you have any, compassion, whatever. Obviously, I mean that's just all a bunch of weird hippie shit that you know people on the West Coast and Jesus talked about, but
Right.
whatever.
um, so they haven't called any more states. I'm looking right now to see if what's going on here.
Yeah, I was looking more like about like PA.
I mean,
Looks to be more up in the air.
it doesn't look good.
No, it does
Um,
not.
but I mean, like I've been saying, I didn't think it looked good because I mean, I've been locked in quarantine, like everybody else, but I've talked to a lot of people, on Zoom calls and this and that. And just, North Carolina is just, it's such a 50-50 state where in Oregon, where you are, you might go a week and not come across anybody who's like hardcore Republican. Fair?
No, stop it,
In
dude.
the city, in the city of
In
Portland.
the city of Portland,
Yeah.
okay, fine. If you don't leave like 39th Avenue, but I mean, man, that's a small core. You go anywhere outside of that, man. I mean, dude, J.R. Ryder, the Prophet.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. I mean,
Yeah.
and what was fuck? I'm whatever. It's election night, f bomb night. So I mean, what's so screwed up about his great words of wisdom was that when he said that, and that was like in what maybe 90. When the shit was that?
Yeah, that was in the 90s.
Right. So 97, let's just say, I'm guessing, but let's
Mhm.
say that was 1997. And when J.R. Ryder said they're still lynching people outside of Portland, 20 miles outside of Portland.
Yep.
And everybody was like, oh my God, I can't believe you would say such an outrageous thing. And again, in my naiveness, I was like, aghast at the idea. I mean, I wasn't so stupid as to think that there weren't racist assholes that lived in the burbs.
Right.
I was familiar with them. But again, it at that time, my experience was that they would it was prevalent yet guarded, and whereas now it seems like it's a lot more freewheeling.
Right.
That's all.
They just called Iowa for Trump, which is not really a surprise. It was a battleground state because they kind of made it a battleground state.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it was a battle. Yeah, I don't know. One thing this has allowed me to do is I know you're not a big Facebooker, but it has allowed me to go in and clean up my friends list over the last few months. There's been a lot of people that have quite surprised me by some of their comments and kind of the
Really?
undertones of their comments. People that I went to high school with, who
Really?
granted I haven't seen in 10 or 15 years, but
you would see their stuff on Facebook over the
yeah,
years,
and
right?
it was even when Obama was elected, there was none of that. It wasn't until Trump came, and
Almost
this
like
is what
they're
I've been telling you.
emboldened.
Trump has unlocked something in some people that they had locked away for a long time, and either
I still argue that it's a better option that it be locked away than it be waved around. I do. I don't know. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I don't know, man. I look at it like this: if I'm driving down a road and I got the headlights that are going to show me the potholes and I can drive around them, I'd rather do that than to run over and hit every pothole. And I don't know if that analogy works.
Nah, fuck it.
But,
I mean,
you know,
I
but if I know where I'm going to have issues or trouble, or where I need to be guarded versus not.
I was gonna say one cure for potholes is bigger tires.
Absolutely. Like I told you, like,
and that analogy doesn't mean much either. I want. I still get that. I do, but when they were all chastised and pushed back in their hole, was it better then? Or is it better now that they're all out and encouraged?
So when people are in their hole, where you see things manifested is in when certain people go and apply for a job, or certain people go and apply for a loan, or things like that. And that implicit bias, not necessarily racism. I don't want everybody to think I'm taking this down a race path, because it's not.
You can.
Could be, not implicitly, but it would come out in decisions and things like that. All right. What is this? Iowa considered to be okay. All right. But it would come out in decisions and things of that nature. Where to now is, if I'm going out to a bar to go out and drink, and I go out and I see this humongous 10 by 10 Trump flag out in front of the bar, I'm probably not going in there. You know, probably not. Just like I told you before, my brother-in-law and I went to this bar, and we walked in, and there was the biggest Confederate flag I'd ever seen in my entire life.
Man, I mean, dude, I'm remembering fondly, say, lots of the times we spent together in our youths.
Yeah.
And some of the folks that we hung out with.
Yeah.
And I know full well some of the people that we hung out with.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know some of the other ones. Yet, I'm confident that not all of them were quite as enlightened as I wish they were.
Mm-hmm.
But they knew better than to fucking open their mouth.
Right.
I guess I just think that's better. I don't know. I mean, because hopefully, here's why I think that's better. Because they know it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They know it's wrong. And so eventually it dies and goes away, hopefully.
I don't think it does, though.
And maybe it doesn't die just with them. It can be passed along, of course. But what I'm saying is that when you're operating under the stuff you win the whole mentality, that person is less likely to run into other people. They're going to run into the people that they really seek out, that think like they do. But it's always going to be under this hush-hush kind of idea. And yes, they'll bring their kids up in it. But again, if it's always under this hush-hush idea, even a kid's going to kind of pick up on that. Even they pick up on that we got to be on the down low with this idea. We can't be so blatant. And don't get me wrong, of course, there can still be downsides of that, whether it's, yes, they are the loan officer and they don't approve any loans for people of color, or whether it's they don't hire folks, or whatever it is. And those are all unfortunate things, but are those better bad things than overt flag flying, run people down that, look at you wrong because yeehaw Trump?
I see.
I don't know. Maybe one's not better than the other. They both suck, and I wish all those people would fuck off. I mean,
but for me, I would rather know than not know. That's just for me.
No, I get it.
I'd rather know what I need to prepare myself for in a situation than thinking I'm good and not be good. That's just me. And
well, then I guess all I can say is that some of the bars that we used to go to a long time ago just be glad that you didn't know. Because
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, because damn. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I get that. And but I look at it this way: had I known that, could have made an informed decision. You know what I mean?
What about the bar you used to work at? You think you'd still work there?
I was a little bit different because I was married into that family. I was a little bit
Okay,
different.
fine. Okay,
I was a
okay,
little bit
fine. Fuck it. Let's say you still were. Think you'd still be working there?
probably not.
Why? All that overtness?
Oh, it was overt when I was there.
Then why? Then why was that? I mean, then.
So it was overt when I was there. But see, here was the
So,
difference. I was in charge, which really pissed people off. And I
which
got
is fun. Which right? Because I even
it.
remember that. Because I just sat there. Because that was a thing. That was a dynamic that as a third person viewer of the whole thing, the few times that I was out there. And again, for those that are not in the know, I'm going to go ahead and set it up for him real quick, because this was a bar in a not even suburban area. I would say a rural area of the Portland metropolitan area.
Yeah.
And close to the coast, which is what we here on the West Coast call the beach. And we have a saying here, at least I have a saying here, that the closer you get to the beach, the wackier the people get. And so you tended bar out in the sticks, and I would visit occasionally because you would pour me free booze, and then I would go sit in a seat out on the sidewalk. It was like a car seat from somewhere. I remember that.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. Good times. But I just always remember thinking like the dynamic here was so great because I mean everybody's loving it. I mean you're seriously like you were like the only black guy in visual distance, and you like you said you're running the show there. And I mean I just remember thinking around like thinking like as I looked around, because these are folks that I'm all familiar with, but I don't spend time with because I'm familiar with those folks.
Right.
And so a lot of them are probably good people, I'm sure, but whatever. And so I just remember thinking all the times that I would visit, like, man, everybody here is having a great time, but I know damn well that a lot of these folks, not all of them, I'm sure, but I know a lot of them, if it was just me and them, they would talk different.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just would.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, say, like when I visited your house, or your parents' house, really. When I visited, and I don't think anybody changed their behavior when I visited there. Maybe they did. I don't know. You could tell me. But I mean, in the neighborhood, nobody seemed to change their tune when I showed up.
Right.
You know what I mean? They didn't go out of their way to make any kind of. They talked the same way I assumed they were talking before I got there. And they talked the same way after I left.
Right.
They may or may not have been talking about anything I had to be doing. Right. But just in their general conversations, I don't think it changed just because I was there. Whereas I think it did out at that bar. That's all. And that was back in the time when it was, no, all you people stuff that nasty shit thought back in your hole. And they would only let it rip in company that was,
right.
Which is why I would always hear it, because they're like, you must be one of us. I'm like, no, I'm not, fucker. Don't talk that shit to me. I don't want to hear it.
Right.
But now, I mean, even like all of high school, I mean, that's why This is why Facebook always was such an anomaly to me. I'm like, why do people want to keep in touch with people from high school? They all sucked. I mean, at least the ones I went to high school with, I wasn't a big fan of any of them, really. I'll be honest. I mean, so many of them, because of this type of an experience, it was remarkable how many folks that I would be in any kind of contact with. And my experience was how they would talk when it was, just us. And I'm like,
Right.
man,
Yeah.
I didn't like it then. I don't like it now.
Right.
And I just, one, for the racist part of it, and two, for just I don't like people that are, that switch shit on and off, that aren't consistent in their, in their character. I'm a simple person, I guess, in that, I don't like all the complicated, oh, I only do this when certain folks are around, and I act this way when other folks are around. Man, no, don't do that. Just be you, and I'll be me, and then cuckoo, cuckoo.
Another news alert.
No, good.
Hold on. Let's see here.
I'm sure it's good news.
Let me see. I hate how a news alert pops up and then it goes to the website and then you got to dig for it through all the ads. Biden wins Minnesota.
That's a little bit shocking, but I don't know if it really matters.
No, I mean, I thought that he was supposed to win Minnesota all along. I don't know.
I met some pretty dang, like the folks we're chatting about when I stayed in Minnesota for the better part of a year. I met a lot of folks like that there.
Yeah.
Man.
Biden wins Hawaii, but I think that was expected also.
Okay, not a big shock.
It's going to come down to Pennsylvania, North Carolina. It's going to come down to Pennsylvania.
Is there anything you can do to all the people in North Carolina? Is it just Pennsylvania then?
Well, they're both like within 2 or 3 percentage points. It's close.
Wow.
But he's leading. Trump is leading in both. And I believe Trump is leading in Michigan, which surprises me.
What in the hell, America?
Let me see if I can get an interactive map. I thought Michigan would. Let's see here. Where's Michigan? Michigan.
Personally, I would have liked to have seen the Michigan governor. Was it Whitmer? That's her name.
Yeah, Gretchen.
Whitmer. Like I'd like to have seen a WW ticket, Whitmer and Warren, or vice versa, whichever. Mm-hmm. I think that would have been quality. I mean,
yeah. So Trump has stretched out his lead in Pennsylvania, like real big.
Well, yeah, I mean, 300,000 votes didn't even get counted, man. Because of the freaking post office. Because, like we mentioned earlier, sorting machines and stuff.
Let's see here. Yeah, Trump is up 300,000 votes in Michigan, with 57% in, which surprises me. That's the one that surprises me out of anything is Michigan.
I guess you got Detroit, so
yeah, but he's going to win outside Detroit. People were saying Georgia was a swing state, and I never got that because Georgia is this. When you think of the South, that's Georgia. I don't care.
Yeah, no shit. I never in my wildest dreams would think Georgia would go Democrat. No way.
I mean, Atlanta is this and Atlanta is that, but we're talking about like, there's not enough. There's not enough of anything in Atlanta to offset the whole state of Georgia. It's Georgia. I mean, they make movies.
I'm still just dumbfounded that Donald fucking Trump is like our president. I mean, that people go, yeah, that guy. I mean, I surely cannot have been the only one who had ever heard of Donald Trump before 2016. and went, that clown? I mean, that is staggering.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we are going to get what we deserve then. You know, we are going to get what we got what we deserved 4 years ago. And people can say what they want about Hillary being a flawed candidate and, you know, this and that, but we're going to get what we deserve. You know, we're going to get what we asked for. I mean,
who's we? Who's this fucking we you're talking about? Because I sure the fuck didn't ask for this. I doubt you did.
The country in general.
Man.
You know? I mean, I don't know, man. It's
can't wait till they start mining Yellowstone. That'll be sweet.
Yeah, if you're a big fan of the environment, if you're a big fan,
dude. And here's and I mean, considering the career that I'm in, which is natural resources business. Man, like I said, I'm a fan of regulation. There's a reason it exists. It's a good thing because without it, you know, people get a little crazy. Wow. So where do we go from here?
So if things are trending the way they're trending, the hope is that the Democrats hold the House, which it looks like they are. Looks like they're going to hold the House,
which is like useless.
Well,
I mean, it keeps the Republicans from getting like absolutely all. I mean, oh my God, dude! You got the executive, you got the Supreme Court, you got the Senate. But we get the House.
Well, here's the Senate's still in play.
Is the Senate flipping? I mean, if the Senate flips, then the last bit of booze that I'm about to pour out will be in celebration.
Right. Yeah, the Senate is still in play. There's a lot of competitive races. Let me see if I can get an update.
Get that update. I'm going to grab my bottle.
All right.
What new development then?
They haven't called any House races yet. NBC is projecting that the Democrats are going to hold the House, but they haven't called any individual races. That's going to go late into the night. And they haven't called any Senate races officially yet. Outside of a couple of flips. So the Republicans flipped Alabama, which some would argue that it was a miracle that a Democrat won in Alabama, but they flipped that. But remember, the guy that lost the Alabama race last time got caught with like porn or something. He got something really bad happened to him. I don't even remember the situation.
Who is this now?
This was Remember when Jeff Sessions left to go general, and they put that guy in place, and then he got into some trouble. I'd have to look it up, but they flipped that. The Democrats flipped Arizona. The Democrats flipped Colorado. And it looks like everything else is falling into place. Michigan is such an anomaly because the Republican is winning in Michigan for the Senate. And I don't know. I guess I thought the people in Michigan had a little more of a backbone when their governor was targeted for assassination. But that's me. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's pull up some results from the good old home state of Oregon and see what's going on there. So
I heard that we legalized psychedelic mushrooms. So that's fun. That's my high point of the evening.
Yeah. So Senator Merkley from Oregon is going to be reelected by a high margin, but again, that's not unexpected. Let's see here. Tobacco. Legalized psilocybin is winning 55-44. I love Oregon so well.
And I mean, we get like two things right, like legal weed and mail-in voting.
Yeah. I'm not an expert on mushrooms, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
you can find out when you visit home again.
Yeah.
Well, your birth home. Well, not even your birth home. You're born in Oakland, so. If you ever come back to Oregon, then you can trip nuts and.
Yeah, no, right. Is that medicinal?
Safely and legally. I don't know if it's medicinal or if it's like straight up like there's going to be like a new counter at the freaking weed shop where it's like, here's your mushrooms, which would be great. I mean, honestly, you know what? Let's take a moment since that is, again, if it's regulated, hey, it's safer. Think about banging a whore. Would you rather some back alley skank that just got done eating a Whopper? Maybe that's what it was. It doesn't really matter. You're in the back alley. Would you rather that, or would you rather go to, say, the ranch, and you have somebody that's certified, they're licensed, they're clean, you're happy with your experience, and then you're back at home.
Is there a third option?
Huh?
Is there a third option?
Jerking off, but I mean,
I've done a lot of things in the state of Nevada, and that's not one of them.
Man. Well, if you got another Nevada story, shit, I got just enough booze.
No, I don't have another Nevada.
I'll sit up straight.
But I've actually never seen a brothel.
Me either.
Because the times that I went to, because they're like, you can't have them in the city limits. They're like,
they're out in the sticks, right?
They're only legal in counties with less than X amount of a population.
Got you. So specifically not Vegas.
Right. So it's outside of Vegas. It's still going. We don't know yet. Go to bed.
Nice.
So, yeah. The 11-year-old has been on TikTok talking to all of her Gen Z and Gen Y friends.
Is she cursing them out, going, "Why did they all vote for Trump?"
Yeah.
No, I'm playing. They shouldn't be talking about that, but I mean, maybe they are, and they're young. They're young enthusiasts. But isn't TikTok about to get banned?
No, TikTok was bought by somebody else, and it's good now. it was bought by a company that's friendly to Donald Trump, so he's okay with it now. Somebody's pocket got lined, is what happened. But that's neither here nor there. All right. So back to the brothel.
Thank you. Yes.
So it would be the equivalent of like Clatsop County, right? A county that is under,
No, I hear you.
Under 80,000, 100,000 population. Those are the only counties in Nevada that they're legal.
No,
and I think you know me. When I go places, I like to stay in populated areas. I've never.
Yeah, I mean, you want to take a trip out to the desert, to go get laid. Which
I'm not a big like you're an outdoors guy. You like to get out in the woods and stuff like that. I like cities. I like to be around people. I feel comfortable in like populated areas. Right. Things don't work out too well when you get out in the sticks, kind of by yourself, and or where people know the land really well and you don't know the land in the area really well. That doesn't usually work out in your favor.
Again, I would even go so far as to entertain the argument of legalizing just all of it.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. I mean, if you want to go shoot some smack, fine. Here's some licensed smack. Here's a clean needle so you don't spread some bullshit. Knock yourself out. You're going to go do it anyway. Mm-hmm. So fucking whatever. It's I don't know. I mean, I just, if people are of the mind that they need to go get messed up, they're going to go get messed up. And if they could, or if they want to go bang a hooker, they're going to go bang a hooker.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to bang a hooker, so it's never really been an issue. But other folks do. And I would rather they go to somebody who is, healthy and clean and won't spread disease.
Mm-hmm.
And is also maybe not being held hostage. That'd be cool.
Trafficking element.
Yeah, or they're not like, I have to give you a massage, Mr. Owner of the New England Patriots, before I tug. I mean, that's ridiculous. So, and that's not slander, by the way, if it's true, right? I mean, Robert Kraft, owner of New England Patriots, got a tug job at a freaking massage parlor.
Right. And then got his
parents. I mean, he's only got X number of billion of dollars. That's how you got to go get a load off and at that point, I mean, honestly, you're like,
that's more about control.
It's like a power thing at that point. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I've got this weird slave girl to jerk me off who I could have disappeared or something fucking weird. Man.
It's
honestly, some people need to get like shot with some paintballs or something. I don't know. I mean,
no, but I'm a city guy. Like, I like population centers. I like to,
which is fun.
I like to stay where there's like security cameras and such.
Okay, so here's a small divergence, but the prison that's being built, with our phones and computers and YouTubes and whatnot, to where, if we never have to leave our home for work, we can get all of our food delivered. Our schools are all online. All of our entertainment is on a screen. What are we like voluntarily imprisoning ourselves? A population that stays put is easier to control.
No, most definitely. That remains true. I mean, what was that book, 1984?
Yeah. No. There's a few passages from that one lately.
I mean, I don't know. Just me personally, I don't thrive on the whole like living off the land rural type thing. Um,
I don't want to do that. I want to have. I mean, I would love to have the house that has like solar panels, has the Tesla or somebody else's like home battery unit that can also charge your electric car, and you have and have a well. That's deluxe. Sign me up. And especially if apparently this is the new standard where we're all just shut-ins anyway. I mean, I'm blessed to have a really big yard in the burbs. And I've had an easy ride comparatively of this lockdown situation to folks. I mean, living in an apartment, with children,
right.
just, I mean, put a hammer just right there. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
so I get it, that desire to want it, but if this is the normal, then why, I mean, personally, I mean, I'd rather be as far away from everybody else as possible. I mean, if my kid doesn't get to go out and play with all of his friends in the street anyway,
Why
because
not
of the
be
Rona,
completely where you can do your own thing?
then yeah, I mean, I'd rather have some land and have my own freaking bike trail or some shit, you know. Um, but that's the thing. I mean, if I mean, that's only being fed more and more by, yes, you can have everything delivered, and yes, all of your entertainment is right here. All of your info is right here. You don't have to leave home ever. Okay. Um, then I won't.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just in the last, what, 7 months, 8 months now, excuse me, the standard of not leaving the house. Oh my God, the hiccups. Here they are. They're the worst. What's your trick for getting rid of hiccups? Is it a spoon of sugar? Is it drinking water upside down?
Holding your breath is what has always worked for me.
Getting scared? Holding your breath?
Trump won Montana, which again is not a shocker. Not a shocker at all.
Have they called PA yet?
No, they haven't called PA. They haven't called Georgia either, and I don't know why they haven't called Georgia because he was way up in Georgia.
When they call something, does that mean it's official, or that's just like the news?
It means that the really smart analytics people and whatever network you're watching have estimated the number of votes that are going to come in. So basically, this is the way they do it. Let's say there's 90% of the votes in, right? So they know the counties and they know the precincts where that other 10% comes from.
Right. And
If
where
that
that's likely to.
Won't put, let's say you got every vote from all those precincts and it wouldn't put you ahead, then they call it.
I got you. Yeah, I got you. So
that,
I mean, it's a pretty solid call when they call it.
Yeah, that's essentially when they call it. Is they say if you got every single vote from every single available vote that's out there, and
you still wouldn't win it,
then they call it.
Yeah. Or yeah. Okay.
So that's
so
we have people like crunching the numbers, and you can pay to get on certain websites. You can get it for free, but you can pay for the data, where you can get live data from the election office as soon as they update it. That's what they're doing. Is they're getting so let's say Multnomah County feeds in their election data, CNN or Fox or MSNBC pulls that number up and says, okay, all the votes from Multnomah County are counted. And the only votes that are out there are Washington County,
right,
Marion County, and in Washington County and Marion County, there's only 50,000 votes, and this person is up by 75,000 votes.
Then I got you.
Votes will offset what's going on.
Nice.
So that's what they call something. It's essentially based on that.
So then, are we gonna know tonight?
The problem with tonight is, just from watching the news, they haven't counted all the votes, which we are at 1 a.m. right now, and all the votes should have been counted, but there's big population centers where entire precincts haven't been counted. So that would be like the Gresham precinct, for example. Let's say there's 30,000 votes in Gresham. Everywhere else in Multnomah County has been counted, but they haven't counted Gresham. And then let's say they haven't counted Park Rose. And then they haven't counted Tualatin, right? So those aren't counted yet. So they can't put those in the projections because they don't know which way they're going to go. If they had been counted and you could add it to the total, that's one thing. But when they're just missing, they can't really call it because those precincts haven't reported.
And that could be enough of a difference to go one way or the other.
Exactly. Because if you, let's say you have 50,000 votes in Gresham, the race is probably 30,000 votes apart. So depending on who gets an even split of that vote could swing the election. So that's why Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and some of these other states haven't been called yet, is they haven't been able to count those votes. And there's enough votes there that it could swing it one way or the other.
So I'm crossing like all my parts.
Right.
Even my testicles.
Yes. But the problem is when you look at the map and you look at what it would take for Biden to win, it's going to get down to he's going to need every vote that's out in Pennsylvania and North Carolina to come in for him.
So, I mean, every time you talk about Pennsylvania, I keep hearing that story from earlier today of 300,000 votes that were in the system, the mail system. They should have been postmarked as on time, but they haven't physically been able to handle the count or the sorting of them because they don't have sorting machines for some darn reason. Seems important.
So were they saying that they were going to count those votes? Or were they saying that those votes were just out?
I don't know.
Because 300,000 votes in Pennsylvania right now,
it's a lot.
It could decide the state. And that could decide the election because it's that close, which is one reason why they can't call it.
Which 2 points. One, so it seems kind of important. Two, how the hell did it even get to this point in America? I mean, it should never even gotten to where it depended on any one little area to make some big drastic difference.
Right.
I mean, this should have been like a referendum of hell no, we don't accept this nonsense.
But apparently, majority of the country does accept the nonsense, and that's the disappointing part.
So we're like we're in the minority, and the minority is reasonable people,
and that's kind of dangerous because I don't think anybody would classify me as a radical. I wouldn't classify myself as a radical. Classify myself as somebody who believes in human decency and treating everybody like I want to be treated. And I know that sounds like Pollyanna and Mayberry.
I thought that was like one of those Jesus tenets.
It could be. I mean,
even Allah and all those other ones, because I mean, from an outsider looking in, like all you religions like look real similar. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, you all talk about like, I don't mean you all, but whatever, you're religious, so or you went to Central Catholic for God's sake, so there you are.
It's true, yes.
I'm just saying, as an outsider looking in, for all of the differences that all of the religions like to like kill each other over, y'all seem like real similar. Like real similar. Like honestly, there's not a lot of differences between Jews and Arab and Islamic folks.
Right.
Not people from Arabia. But honestly, I mean, don't eat pork. I mean, there's too many similarities to be this divisive about it. And there's so many of the same tenets. Be decent to each other, you know. Be honest. I mean, there's so many similarities. How are they that divided? You know, and again, I guess I just get back to that idea. It's the same thing for this country. That everybody goes on about how divided we are here, and yes, we are. But I feel like that's just such a concerted effort. There's so much energy being poured into the idea of us being divided that if even for just a moment that we had a break from that I mean, just by the natural course of people wanting to all do better by each other, for the most part, I think that I think that it has to be a willful effort to get us this torn apart. I don't think it's natural. I don't think we naturally hate each other this much.
Right. I don't disagree. Man, I don't even know what to say. I don't disagree with you. I think there's more that connects us than separates us. And I think people have to affirmatively want to separate from other people as opposed to want to congregate with other people. And I think in the long run, when we look back on it, we're all being played and we're willfully being played. We're allowing ourselves to be pawns in a game that we don't even know the rules to. There are multinational corporations, not even individuals, that are playing games with us. I mean, you talked before about who owns Twitter, who owns this, who owns that. There are people and corporations in place that are using us as pawns, and we are allowing ourselves to pick a side for a team that we don't know who the captain is. We are allowing ourselves to be pawns in a game that we don't know the rules to, nor will anyone ever explain the rules to us, but they tell us we have to wave this flag and root for this side, and we don't really know why. That's concerning.
I think it's just because it plays to the most tribal, most base instinct of people of us versus them. It's the easiest way to play people against each other. Right. The us versus them. You're either on my team or you're not, and you got to be squished.
So have you ever read that study? And I think it was a Stanford study, could have been a Harvard study, of where they got 100 people and they made 50 people prison guards and they made 50 people prison inmates. You've seen
sure. Yeah.
It's that same mentality. People assimilate to what they think they're supposed to do. So they took some woke people, quote unquote woke people, and made them prison guards. And they conformed to what they think that a prison guard should do. So these are people who preached against violence and preached against authoritarianism. And at the end of the study, they were acting like
ass and they
were acting like because that was the side that they were on, right? They wanted to win. So they were on the side of the prison guards. And then you had people who were assigned to be inmates who took the inmate mentality. And when they were shown the footage of it and they got to read the study, they were shocked. But it just shows that if you force people onto one side or another and beat it into them that this is your side, then they will do it, right? So I've got an NFL team in my city, right? NFL team in my city. And I've been at the games, and after the games, I've seen two grown men fist fighting, because one team beat the other team. They are so ingrained into this is my team and you suck.
And that's what that is that base emotion. That is that. If you boil everything down to the lowest common denominator, it's us versus them. It's Why does your life suck? It's because of that thing over there. Let's go crush it, and then everything will be better for you.
Right.
And if you just play that song over and over again, I mean, it's a pretty powerful song, I guess. It resonates with a lot of folks, just like it did in Germany in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
That you're down and out, you hate your place in life, you think that you deserve better. I think you deserve better too. And I know what the problem is. I know what it is that's keeping you from getting ahead. It's that guy over there. If we just get rid of that guy over there, all your problems will be better. And all of these, all of these things will be yours. You're like, man, snake oil salesman, con artist, just bullshit 101.
But
and it works.
But it works.
It works like fucking crazy.
And it works time over time over time over time. Look at Jim Jones. Look at these cult leaders. Who in good
I can only this might be rude to say. But again, like I said, this is the disconnect, because Republican people will say Democrats are in a cult.
Right.
And I say, gosh. I mean, funny, I was going to say the same thing to you.
Right.
Know, and so, I mean, if we're that far apart, I mean, and maybe we always have been, and that's the thing about these new fun times, is that it's not that it's anything new, it's that it's shining a great big nasty spotlight on all the nastiness that's always been here.
Right. So let me give you an example of what I mean by it's better to have it out in the open than to keep it hidden. Let's look at black and white television, right?
Yep.
Black and white television. So you watched it, Leave It to Beaver, name the show. Everything seemed great. Husband and wife, 2.5 kids, white picket fence. Everything seemed great, right? Make America great again, right? But a lot of times, what a lot of people don't realize, if you weren't brought up a certain way, the absence of what you see is sometimes the problem.
For sure. So, no representation.
Being an African American male, watching TV growing up, who are the only African American people I saw on TV?
Criminals and bad guys.
Criminals and bad guys, or janitors, housekeepers, babysitters, right? You get where I'm going.
No, for sure.
So,
or the very grateful midget orphan.
Yes, exactly. Or the one who was in the club, but you had to tap dance and entertain everybody. Right?
Love that guy.
So what you didn't see was the hardworking African-American male, head of household with his own family. You didn't see it. You just thought that there were no black people for 20 years of television, unless they were coming in to clean the house, or they were Big Mama and they were taking care of the kids. That's all you saw.
Right.
And not saying you should get all your inspiration from TV, but
we do. So let's go ahead and just acknowledge it. We do.
So that's all you see. So that goes to my point of, I would rather know that certain people were excluded than to just kind of guess that they were. I'd rather know, right? So then, as time evolved and people got a little more woke, I guess if you want to say it, you started to see more women in positions of power, women leading characters on TV, and then people of color, whether it's black, Asian, Latino. Like, think about growing up, man. When did you ever see a Mexican dude in a movie who wasn't a cholo or a gangster?
For certain.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. But so now, then what about the phenomenon of like the shows like Fresh Off the Boat or blackish, where it's like, and this is just my perspective, correct me where I'm wrong and tell me how awful I am, but it almost seems like it's a bunch of white writers going, we need X minority group so that I can tell all the jokes that I've heard.
I don't disagree with that. I don't. I've had problems with those shows because when have you ever seen a leading character who's a person of color, regardless of what that color is, in a serious, serious role where they weren't entertaining and telling jokes,
For
right?
sure. No, for sure.
And kind of the first one that kind of broke that mold, well, maybe not the first one, probably the first one was Richard Pryor. He kind of got up and did his own thing, you know. But Dave Chappelle kind of tells it like it is to a certain extent. But to get back to my earlier point, the absence of what you see sometimes tells the whole story. Because we know that black people just didn't appear in like 1970, right? We know that. But if you look at the history of television from the 20s on, you didn't see them unless they were ancillary characters or support role or they were entertainers, right?
Right, right.
I'd rather understand why that is. And if I was an aspiring actor and I wanted a lead role in the play, I probably wouldn't be honestly told why I wasn't getting it. I would have to infer why I wasn't getting it.
You
And
freaking know.
right. But I mean, you can only infer for so long when the first black person on television was 30 years after television was invented. Or so. I don't remember what the stat was.
Right. But I hear you.
But if that is out in the open and I know that, I can make a really informed decision on how I'm going to interact or spend my money or do X, Y, or Z versus it kind of being kind of tucked away and nobody talks about it. I think when you talk about something and you confront it, I think you can make some headway one way or the other, or you can realize this person's not reasonable. I'm not going to deal with them. But if you don't know, then it's really hard to make an informed decision. And I get it. Some of the places we went in our 20s, looking back on it, we were probably like, it probably wasn't the place for us to be together. You know?
Well, I tell me I'm an asshole if I say something like, I mean, again, I just know that we went to a lot of places where people were checking their mouth when they wouldn't if you weren't there.
This is absolutely 100% true.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
and if I'm an asshole for saying that, then call me an asshole. But
no,
God damn it, I know I'm fucking right.
Right. No,
Because I know all those people. I
Right.
know those people. I know them. I've seen them. I've been around them too much. I can't stand them. That's why I don't hang out with them anymore. And because there was that inherent, you believe like we do. I'm like, no, I don't. And I kind of want to punch you out right now. But I won't because, who likes fighting? So I just won't hang out with you anymore.
Right.
Because I don't think I'm going to change your mind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would have talks with people that I grew up with or went to high school with or whatever at parties. And again, it was, I wasn't going to change their mind. I wasn't going to swing their view from the horrible shit they were saying because it was just us.
Right.
You know what I mean? So why even be around that? I'm not going to swing their whole viewpoint of life to go, oh, man, I'm glad I talked to you, Joe, because turns out I'm a racist piece of shit, and you've changed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're not gonna. That ain't gonna happen. So I just why bother? And maybe that's a bit giving up. Okay, yeah, I guess it is.
I mean, the disappointing thing is, think about like in the 90s when we were coming up. We were supposed to be the generation that was going to change all this. Gen X, right? We were supposed to be the ones that were going to forge a better way.
But it was already being for like it was already being set in motion for us. Like it seemed like these things were, to me, it already seemed like these things were a given. Like these were things that were already settled, and yeah, there were some outliers that needed to be slapped around a bit, but most sensible folks, most reasonable folks, wanted to be part of modern society. It, like I say, it's the same thing. Like when I first started watching international soccer,
Mm-hmm.
and this is like around 2003, 2004, maybe. Because like before that, like it was hard to watch soccer here in America. Like when I was a kid, when you were a kid, how often did you ever see soccer on TV?
It was never.
Never was it on TV. So that was like the first opportunity I had to actually watch it, and it was really neat because I was like, wow, soccer, that's cool. Looks like these folks are into it.
That's an understatement.
But what I remember seeing, like again, this is like circa early 2000s, when I first started seeing international soccer, like in Europe. These are mega stadiums holding huge crowds for these big soccer matches. And there would be like the advertising banners that would go around. They go around the soccer field or pitch if you're savvy. And there's banners, and it's usually for advertisements, for shoes or whatever the shit. And it runs the whole border of the field. And then every once in a while it would say like, end racism, or say no to racism, and like all the players, like on their jersey, would have like an armband, say no to racism. And I'd be like, fuck, man, really? We're still talking? Really? Isn't that seems kind of quaint? That seems archaic. That seems old and dated. And why are we really Europe? You're still talking about this shit? What? Why are you so backwards, Europe?
Right.
Turns out it's still kind of a thing. Needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
I mean, it is not a steady trajectory up human enlightenment. Turns out it kind of.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm hoping that it's like the stock market. The overall, right?
Yeah.
The stonks, they do this, but occasionally they dip.
Right.
But overall, if you pan out far enough,
look at that 30,000 view.
From 50 years, if you pan out, they go up. But if you zoom into, say, a 6-month period, oh fuck,
right?
And maybe that's the same of human.
I just don't understand why treating everybody fairly is wrong. I don't understand that.
It's not wrong. It's what you said earlier. People don't want to lose their station. Right. I work so hard being white.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, that's the flag they're planting in the ground. I work so hard being this pale. Surely I'm owed something. And here's the thing: as somebody who was raised as scraping the bottom edge of middle class white suburbia, I mean, when I grew up, it was we could never afford anything. Mm-hmm. We were at the very edge of keeping our suburban house. I mean, we were the epitome of keeping up appearances. Mm-hmm. Of, yeah, we're still in our house, we just can't do anything. Right. We can't ever have anything. You'll get a new whatever next year. Mm-hmm. Like my whole goal in life as an adult is to not tell my kid ever next year.
Right.
That's a personal thing. Mm-hmm. And so I combine that upbringing, which I think, don't get me wrong, it was not terrible, but you know, I didn't have a car when I was young. I saw a lot of my friends get cars when they were young. Um, you know, we didn't go on vacations. We didn't have new fans. I mean, we weren't poor, but we weren't, you know, everybody I saw around me was doing better.
I'll get you. I'm with you.
And so it's weird coming from that background, but yet then looking back at it and going, realizing I still had it better than so many. I still had more opportunity than most, even though it wasn't, even though I sat there and go, man, I didn't have a car when I was in high school. To realize I still had it better than most, you know, that's the difference. And that's the part that's being played on so hard, and why all these folks are driving around in their gigantic trucks with their gigantic flags, feeling so disenfranchised
Mhm.
because their automatic station in life is not guaranteed right now. Maybe, possibly.
Right. And they don't want to be the first generation to lose that station.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just hypothesizing, but based on people I've talked to, that's what I'm hearing. They don't want to be the first ones to be passed over by someone else. I mean, the fact that when a woman becomes a president of a company or gets promoted to VP or whatever, they celebrate it and it's all over LinkedIn. I want to get to a point where that's not a big deal. You know, like
I thought we were there 20 fucking years ago, man.
but I mean we're
Honestly, I mean, I'm just saying. Like when I first came to work at the law office,
not. Mm-hmm.
like I knew that I was the ignorant schmuck amongst a bunch of educated people. I knew that. I knew that going in.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel it. I could tell. But I liked it because I like being around people that are smarter than me, because I think that I get smarter being around those people.
Agreed.
And at that time, it seemed like a no fucking brainer that we were on a nonstop, like I said, that racism was a quaint, weird idea that somehow Europe still has to deal with in soccer matches, but surely we the fuck don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. And you know, again, if I mean,
Well, the thing is, you got to remember, at the law office, though, there was 200 like-minded people all working towards the same goal.
I get that, and we were in a very, I get that, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And so I guess I was naive in thinking that the rest of the world was on board with these ideals because they seemed so,
Basic,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, they just seem, they seem fundamental.
Right.
Which is why people like Trump prefer stupid people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's better that you're just uneducated and dumb and you just cheer for your team than actually stop and think about some shit.
You have to think there was a lot of women lawyers at the law office, and it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal. But I tell you, I work in tech now, right? And I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and LinkedIn is damn near becoming Facebook and all this. But you know, our chief information security officer and our chief information officer are both women. And they post a lot on LinkedIn, and they're like, congratulations to so-and-so. She's the first woman in this company's 200-year history to do this.
Nice.
How is that possible when women make up 50% of the population, that a woman in 200 years has never held that role? Like, The
Because
fix
I mean, they couldn't even fucking vote until 100 years ago. I mean,
but you gotta think the fix is in. Like if you take away man and woman and you just go 1 and 0 and you just run a math calculation, 1 and 0 are gonna come up about half of the time, right? I mean, just take the name off, just go A and B, and you just roll the dice over and over and over and over, it's going to happen.
right.
This goes back to my point about knowing stuff and it not being tucked underneath, because that's the reason why when an Asian American or an African American or a woman gets promoted into a position of power, they damn near throw a parade because it's never happened.
Right.
You see my point?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a big deal that a woman is a CEO of a company. Women are 50% of the world, half of the world. So why is that a big deal? What? Because the men, and primarily the white man historically, have held that station. It's been their role, right? And for a woman to kind of break through that ceiling and become president or CEO of a company, it's like, holy crap, this really happened.
Well, thankfully, our new Supreme Court justice will correct all that.
And I know we just talked about being on a certain team, but
think about that. I mean, we were talking earlier about like Cubans,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Voting for Trump.
Yeah.
So women, I mean, let's break this down for 1 second. You have a woman to the Supreme Court. Arguably, that's a pretty progressive fucking thing.
Right. Yeah.
However, she's going to be the most regressive cult freaking religious nut.
Yeah.
Sorry if that offends anybody out there, but she is. I mean, dude, she's not just in the cult of I'm in a religion, because again, from those of us on the outside, I kind of label all religions as a cult just to begin with. But she's like in a cult in the cult.
Right.
She's like in, okay, you're in, okay, it's like, okay, you're in a cult of religion. Okay, fine. You know, and that cult can be Catholicism. That can be, and again, I'm ignorant, so I just say Christianity, and
Right.
that covers everybody that does this.
Yeah.
Okay, in my ignorant mind, from the outsider looking in, anybody that likes the cross, you're a Christian to me. If you like the little star thing, you're a Jew. Okay, if you like the crescent moon, it's Islam.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I view it all. And then there's Buddha and whatever else,
Hindu and all that.
Yeah, all those folks. Only like another couple billion people. All you cult people, that whatever religion that you sign up for, fine, knock yourself out. But here in our amazing United States, where I can't even say it with a straight face, where we separate church from state.
Yes.
I can't even say it with a straight face.
Yes.
I wish you could reach through the screen and just slap me in the face. So a separation of church and state, and we put the most wackadoodle. Fuck, I mean, we might as well get those fools that put on Nikes and a purple blanket and jumped in the bunk beds and off themselves waiting for the mothership. They seem reasonable compared to this nut.
So here's the deal. I have never had a uterus. I'll never have a uterus. But if men had uteruses, do you think anybody would tell them what they could do with their uterus?
Fucking A, man.
Right?
But again, but she has a uterus. and she is cool with men telling her what to do. But yet she is now elected to the most one of the most powerful positions on earth. A woman, I want a woman has been elected to one of the most powerful positions on earth, qualified or not. I'm going to say not. Yet she comes from a cult that believes women are dog shit.
Right.
That's weird.
See, I've got a mom. I've got a wife.
Mm.
I've got daughters.
Mm.
I'm hashtag girl power
Nice.
all day long.
Right?
Right. I want all of my daughters to be everything that they can be and not be held back by their gender, their color, where they grew up, or anything. I don't look at my daughters and say, you've got to go and marry a scientist or a lawyer or a doctor. Hell, go be the scientist, go be the lawyer, go be the doctor. Just because you're a girl, or just because you're biracial, or just because you're white or black, doesn't mean anything. Make your own dang decision. I want my daughters to be strong and independent and to be able to do whatever the heck they want to do. But knowing the country that I live in, I know that my two older daughters, who are my stepdaughters who are white, are going to have certain advantages over my daughters who are biracial, right? Just flat out right there. That's just, they're going to be looked at differently. Then they're also going to be looked at differently because they're women, right? If they make an achievement, it's going to be a big deal. Where if you had an achievement, it'd be like, yeah, Joe got a new job. Hmm. But if a woman got that job, oh my goodness, this woman is now director of sales. Can you believe it? But then when you get the job, oh yeah, Joe got promoted to director of sales. Good for Joe, he deserved it. I want to get to a spot where it's not a big deal.
Nah, I dig it.
And I think we have to continue to celebrate it until we're like, hey guys, we don't need to do this anymore.
I just thought we were on that trajectory like back in the law office days, man.
Because
20 years ago, I thought we were on that trajectory, man. I swear to God.
No, dude, we weren't. But the people who kept us off that trajectory were hidden away. That's why I keep going back to this. They were hidden away and you didn't see it.
Is that the silent majority?
It's the silent. I don't know what you want to call it, but they were hidden away and they only talked about it when they were around safe people. But those people have enough power to where they could influence the whole entire situation, which is why I would rather know if I'm going before a board of directors, I would rather know who I need to know about than not know at all. Because at the law,
here's an example. Because just because, like, you and I have both switched from the law world to the business world,
right?
And the business world that I switched into, you know, is one of like the oldest there is. It just is. You know, the natural resources world.
Correct. There's lots of old money in that industry.
And they all look like me. Nah, they don't all look like me.
Well,
what's kind of wild is that a lot of them are from India, which is wild. And they bought like all this shit up in BC, in British Columbia.
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious. I think it's funny as shit because, again, I'm an outsider looking in. I'm just some poor fucking white guy. Again, I know I'm a white guy. I got that going for me. But I was a fucking poor ass, fucking broke ass, uneducated white guy. So I didn't have all that going for me. So when I see all those people getting aced by a bunch of Indians coming in going, boom, here's a few bill.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go ahead and buy all this shit. And then all the local rednecks were like, oh, that's weird. I answer to an Indian guy now. And I know the difference between an Indian and a dot on the head Indian.
Right.
Suddenly. Because lo and behold, as much as Canada likes to look down on us as, you know, dumb redneck Americans that wasted all the locals. Turns out Canada did a lot of wasting of the locals themselves. And you know, I love Canada. I think they're cool, but one, they're as greedy as we are.
Mm-hmm.
Two, they were as genocidal as we are.
Mm-hmm.
So, fuck you, Canada, if you think you're better than us. Um, and I know you think you are, because I get it. You don't have a Trump, but if you think you're that far behind, fucking wait for it. If you don't think this shit is coming for you, it's coming. That's why it doesn't matter. If all these people that go, oh, Trump got reelected, I'm gonna fucking move. No, you ain't, because one, ain't nobody else gonna take your dumb fucking ass because you're American and we're banned from everywhere. And
Right.
two, where the fuck you think you're gonna go that this bullshit corruption ain't coming for you? Because I guarantee you, it's coming for you too, Canada. It's coming for you too. Just because you got syrup.
I was just going to say, I feel like I need to go in the kitchen and pour out my maple syrup right now. I love this Canadian rant. I didn't know this was coming.
Man, you know, I just only because, again, you know, Canadians, they get this pass like they're some peaceful, altruistic bunch of fucking, you know, friends of yours. They're not. Fuck Canada. I'm just saying. But the point is, they were more than happy to slaughter just as many natives as we did.
Mm-hmm.
They were just as happy to exploit every natural resource, just like we are. And because I work in the natural resources world and deal directly with Canadians who also work in the natural resources world, when we have Christmas lunch and you're in a room, when I'm in a room, I use your inappropriately. I should say when I'm in that room, I feel pretty out of place. Because again, I know I look like I should be right in line with all these guys, but I feel very out of place because I know I'm just some poor kid from the freaking burbs of Portland. But yet in that room, I look like all the rest of these rich white guys. And in that room of, say, 200 people, you've got representing more wealth than I don't even know if we could imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking about people that own the Sierra Nevada mountain range. I mean, you're talking about people that own, like, I don't know if you're familiar with what Vancouver Island is.
Yes. Oh, I've been there.
Okay. It's pretty big.
It's extremely big.
And it's all wood. It's all lumber. It's all money. That's all it is. It's one big stand of money. And there's people that own all that. I mean, the crown up there owns it, but then they dole it out to who they see fit. And again, it's all just handshakes and backroom deals and buddy and all this bullshit. And again, and I'm in this room surrounded by all these guys doing all, and I just feel like it's just swirling around me. And I'm so out of place, yet I fit right in. And it's remarkable. Because I mean, the amount of sway that these folks have. You know, I mean, these are landowners, these are resource owners. And I mean, apparently they're all on board, you know, with the way things are going now. So, you know, yeah, outsider looking in. I know it's kind of a different kind of outsider looking in, but it's a rainbow here in America.
I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at the numbers now.
What do you see?
Biden just won Minnesota, but then again, that's not a shocker. Okay. You know, I'm waiting for something that's a shocker.
Yeah.
Everything is kind of playing out the way it, quote unquote, is supposed to play out. So the states that looks like that are in play is Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Georgia, and Alaska. And then again, I don't know why they haven't called Georgia. There must be something that we don't know. But that's what's in play right now, and it's not trending in a way that the way that I voted.
Right.
You know, and I don't know. I mean, I just hope. I hope upon hope that the people who voted the way they voted are prepared for what's about to happen over the next 4 years. Because I will tell you this.
What do you think is going to happen in the next 4 years? Like a quick summary.
So here's what I think is going to happen. In my humble political scientist estimation, you are going to see erosion of rights. You're going to see erosion of agencies like the EPA, agencies that govern the Equal Opportunity Council. You're going to see erosions of certain freedoms in the name of national security. You are going to see ramped up defense spending. You are going to see the public schools be marginalized. You are going to see people who have money be given opportunities to make more money, and people who don't have money be given the opportunity to continue to not have money and to live in smaller. You are going to see things that we have taken for granted start to go away. You are going to see a very vindictive branch of government coming from the White House. You're going to see vindictive prosecutions of people in investigations. I believe that the current president is going to use the FBI and the Department of Justice as his own personal law firm to try to lock people up that he doesn't like. Because he doesn't have to worry about getting reelected again, right? He's already been impeached, right? As long as the Senate stays Republican, they're not going to vote him out of office. He is going to do whatever the heck he has wanted to do forever. And I'll tell you when this whole thing turned around. When the NFL would not allow him to buy the Buffalo Bills back in the 80s, you remember this. He wanted to be part of that club, and they said, "You are a lunatic, and we are not going to allow you to buy the Buffalo Bills. We're not going to allow you to be in our 30-person club." And it was then that he went on his current rampage to where he was going to try to make himself the most powerful person in the world. And he hates the NFL because of that.
So between the NFL and Obama, like talking shit to him at the correspondence dinner in whatever that was, 2011, right? Talking shit to him like, "I'll be one thing you'll never be is president." Like, looking back.
Yeah. So there's been articles written about his disdain for the NFL because they wouldn't let him buy a team, and probably rightfully so. And he hates the NFL to this day. But he is going to unleash every vindictive action that he can because he doesn't have to worry about getting reelected. Anybody who is his friend, any land developers are going to be able to squash the person who is barely making their rent. I mean, I'm calling it now. I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen.
I believe it. So, I mean, is it done and dusted then? I mean, is it stuff like we're going to have to wait till overnight, till tomorrow?
Probably, yeah. And I'm also calling that there's going to be a controversy in some state over some ballots, whether it's those 300,000 in Pennsylvania or somewhere else. There's going to be some type of controversy that's going to drag it out. But, you know, it's not trending in a good direction. And, you know, I knew it. I mean, I told you this when we started this show, that Biden was not going to be able to win people over because people see him as a radical and people see him as a station changer.
A
And
radical. That guy, a fucking radical. I mean, holy shit.
dealing with some of the people that live in my state, Biden is a radical.
That's fucking crazy, by the way.
Right?
I mean, if you want to dig on him for being old, geriatric, sleepy, fucking whatever, okay, fine. A radical, that guy,
Right.
goddamn. And I mean, a radical is a guy that talks about grabbing women by the pussy and fucking completely ruining every foreign relationship we've had since, I don't know, World War II.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of radical.
Did you know that Trump was in Home Alone too?
Yeah, I know. I've seen the scene. I mean, fine.
No. You brought up something.
Did you know that he dodged a draft, yet somehow the military is a big fan? I mean, what the fuck?
Because he's lying in the pot. So here's the deal.
So should we have like a live reaction video tomorrow? Will that be when things are known, when things are decided? I would love to be live, even if it's us staring into the camera, the 1,000-yard stare, like we just saw the worst shit happen, and it might be us just going.
I'm willing to go live whenever. I think it'll probably be a couple of days, but I'm just a phone call away when we find out what's going to happen. I mean, like I told you, people consider Biden a radical, and more than that, they consider Biden a station changer, right? Biden was going to change their station, their lot in life. He was going to change their legacy and their heritage. And when you get below the Mason-Dixon line and you get east of the Mississippi River, like, I don't think I've ever heard the word heritage and legacy more than the last 10 years that I've been in Charlotte, that I've heard the word legacy and heritage. Like, those weren't even words I use on a daily basis, but those words are thrown around in normal conversation, legacy and heritage. And when people in this part of the country start talking about legacy and heritage,
yeah, that kind of seems to kind of be pointing at something pretty specific.
I mean, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. In the 34, 35 years I lived in Portland, Oregon, I don't think I had heard the word legacy and heritage in the same sense.
Well, I mean, fuck. Give it a minute. Go visit Estacada.
I'm talking about. So remember, I didn't go to Estacada. I stayed where there was people.
No, I know, but you know what I'm saying.
I know. No, I did go to Estacada.
Hey, fuck, go to St. John's.
St. John's is a whole different animal.
Come on.
St. John's is a whole different animal. So when I did go to Estacada, what was the place with all the stuffed animals?
Oh, the Safari Club.
Safari Club.
Man, fucking Indian Heritage Campground. It was a shit.
So I went there with our friend. Let's see, so we don't call him out. Tall guy.
If you got a story, you got to hold on a second, because I seriously, I got to pee.
Let's do this. I want to go watch some TV and see these results. Let's save that for next time about my trip to the Safari Club.
Nice. Let's pick it up there. Hopefully for the live broadcast. Hopefully for some good news. I'm crossing my parts. Come on, America. God damn it.
Come on. And until then, the Jamal and Joe Show signing off. Remember, like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications, mash that button.
No.
Pray for America.
I'm being told I messed it up. Like, share, subscribe, and comment.
See, it's just, man, even my 4-year-old gets this one right. Come on, man.
I'm not.
Even my 4-year-old be like, subscribe, comment. I'm like, come on, man, you know it.
And hit the notification bell.
Nice.
See, that was my.
No, it was like Jeff Dunham, right? I mean, that was full.
Right.
Ventriloquist.
Man. All right. On that note,
yeah, for sure. No, that's good. God bless America, I hope, or fuck it all. Sorry
Yep.
for the kids. Plug your ears, earmuffs.
Hey, and what do you have to say to Canada? What do you got to
Huh?
say to Canada?
Man, fuck Canada.
All right. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
All right.
All right. Bye.